lovely and soft. I have this terrible pain in my leg, the left leg. So I went to the doctor the other day and I said, I've got this terrible pain in my leg. And he said, I don't think there's any medicines for this. I don't think I will be able to cure you with this. I think this is all part of the growing up process. You're getting a bit older. So I looked at him and I said, Doctor, this leg was born the same day this leg was. And he looked at me and he said, no, Joel, seriously, I think you need to exercise a bit. You need to, spend some time in the gym. And Ingrid and I have got a new policy going. Yeah? People refer to the toilet as the John. Yeah. In our house, we call it the gym. Because it's so much easier to say, I'm going to the gym. Isn't it? Yeah, okay. So, about a year ago, I think in July sometime last year, I was able to share with you this beautiful person who Harriet spoke about a short while ago. Okay? And I was able to share with you a facet about him that was fascinating. We contemplated the face of Jesus. Now, Jesus is the only guy ever. Okay, who has two natures. Okay, he has the divine nature and he has a human nature. And what we did at that time was talk about Jesus' divine nature. But what we're going to do today, okay, with your permission, is we're going to spend some time talking about the Jesus. Talking about the human face of Jesus. Okay? Now, they say pictures speak louder than words, so I'm going to try and speak as little as possible. And I'm going to try and get you to focus on the various pictures that I've got of this Jesus. What we're going to do, what we're going to go do today, is we're going to identify with Jesus the man. Okay? Who he was and how he means to us. Okay? Now, I've got to apologize to you at the very beginning because I did this session about a year ago. You'll find some of the graphics and stuff like that to be pretty similar to what we did a year ago. And you can blame that on my old age, just as my doctor did. Okay? Because they say that old age you tend to repeat yourself a lot. Okay? That's one of the scourges of old age. But hey, guess what? I'm talking to you. And one of the scourges of youth is that you want to tell them 1,000 times. So, we wait for each other. Hi. Thank you. So, we're going to talk about Jesus. You recognize him? Okay? It's the same picture as the Amazing Love. I managed to get this from 10 or some years ago. And Jillian, I'm not walking towards you because I've got glasses. So this Jesus that we're going to talk about is fully God and fully man. Okay? I shared with you about the fact that he has this hypostatic unit. Don't worry about remembering it. If you want, I'll share the entire presentation with you guys later on. What I'd like you to do is just absorb who this person was. Okay? Now, normally, what we do in church and what we do at our sessions a lot is we focus on the Jesus, the divine, Jesus God. Okay? We don't focus a lot on Jesus the man. And today, I'd like to be able to do that. And of course, to do that, I went to my 4 friends. Okay, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John have great accounts of Jesus from the year he was 30 years old to the year he was 33 years old, right? And they have a fairly decent account of the time that he was born. And they have some account of the time that he was 12 years old. But for a good 18 years, I mean the party time for Jesus, I mean they just skipped his life. Now I could have gone back to the history books and looked at it and come to you, but that is not very safe to do. And so, when I looked at these 4 guys and what they have written about Jesus, I found that there was a wealth of information that I could share with you today, okay, that actually we know about but don't think about. And I'm hoping that today you and I are going to learn to think about this. So, what do we know for a fact? That Jesus was the Word, He was God, and through the vessel of honor, Mary, He came down to earth and He became man. Okay? For the purpose of today's session, we are saying Jesus is man. We're not discounting the fact that He's God, but we're talking about Jesus the man. Okay? And incarnation is not the superior aspect that we guys have when we're in our cars, but it actually means that God, the Word, became flesh. Okay, that's what incarnation actually means. Now, before we go any further, class, your homework, and Ravina, please, I want you to remember this. Isaiah 53:2. Can you please write that down, because you have to remind them at the end of the evening. They've got to go home and read this passage, please. Okay, I really invite you to read this passage. Now, what is fascinating about this passage is that Isaiah lived centuries before Jesus. But in this passage, 53:2, he amazingly describes Jesus' humanity to the core. I mean, it's the nail on the head. Okay? And if there was any prophet absolutely spot on with a description of Jesus and his humanity, it's Isaiah 53:2. So please, that's your homework. Please don't forget. Right? So, we're going to fast forward to Jesus the man. Now, what we are told is that Jesus was just like us in all things but sin. Okay? And just to dispel, to make things easy, I'm going to talk about that but sin part for a few seconds. Okay? Now, when we say he was like us in all things but sin, we're not saying that he was not tempted. We're saying he was tempted, but he resisted the temptation and he didn't sin. So do you think you and I can do that? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So if he had the same temptations we had, okay, maybe he didn't have modern gadgets and stuff like that, but he had the temptations of the time, and in fact the devil spotted him and took him specially to various different places in the land to tempt him. Okay, but what we do know about is that Jesus did not sin at all because he resisted the temptation, and this is the battle that he won. Okay, he faced temptation, which was hard fought, but he won that battle. And at the end of today, okay, this is a very interesting graphic. Can you see that eye there? I realize that I am in the middle of sin. I hear you say, oh, yeah. If you say, oh, then it becomes son, and that's him, without the I in the middle of it. I was very taken up with this particular graphic, sin. Okay, so at the end of the evening, Jesus asks you, and Harriet gave us a whole heap of pointers in her lovely praise and worship. Who do you say that I am? Okay, and don't be afraid to have multiple answers to the question. You can have different answers at different times. You can have many answers, and don't worry about it. Christ is constant. Jesus is constant. It's only us who keep flapping about. So sometimes we need a friend. Sometimes we need a father. Sometimes we need a brother. Sometimes we need a confidant. Sometimes we need whatever. He's all these things to us at different times. But he is the same. It's we who keep flapping around the place. Right. So we've established the fact that he was made just like his brothers in every aspect except sin. Okay? And what we are saying now is that if we are to examine Jesus the man, we need to know about his body and his actions, his mind and his thoughts, what was he thinking, what was his will, and finally we'll tackle some of the emotions that he had. Now I want to just take an exclusion here. Okay? I've not talked about all the usual things that we talk about. Okay? I mean, Jesus' compassion and love. We know that, right? Okay, so I'm not going to cover that here because you know that, I know that. Jesus is love. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Okay? But there can be a confusion because you can say, oh, that's the God part of him, that's not the man part of him. But actually, it really is the man part. But I'm going to tackle in this session some of his body, mind and emotions that we don't easily associate ourselves with. Okay? And I want to show us that we are not alone. Now, I'm going to go through his life and bring out various things, and I want you to help me. This is an interactive session, and as usual, I haven't brought chocolate because I've been told that chocolate is sinful. But no, actually it's not chocolate that's sinful, it's the sugar. But we brought some green alternatives which Ingrid will award to the winners as we go along. Right? Right, so we're going to talk first about Christ's body. Okay? He has the same body as ours. Okay? And the fact that he has the same body of ours says two huge things. One, it shows the humility of God. I mean, God humbled himself to become man. I mean, amazing, absolutely spectacular. He didn't need to do that. Okay, that's one. And the other thing is that because God did that, it gives us a chance, right, even in our pain, to be like Christ. I told you, we have the choice to sin or not to sin. He had that same choice. He had everything that we have. Okay? We have everything that he had. So there is no reason that we can't be like him and that we are not the same. Right? So let's start with his birth. We know that he was born of the Virgin Mary. Okay? Luke 2:7 says, and she gave birth to her firstborn son. Now, what I want you to note in this is the last 4 lines. Because there was no place for them in the inn. Okay? He was laid in the manger because there was no place for him in the inn. Okay? So we know about his birth. He was born just like us. Okay, so he grew just like us. He worked with his father in his carpenter's workshop. We know about this. He got tired. Now, who can tell me when he got tired? Anybody? For our first winner for the night. Anybody at all? Anybody remember any time that he got tired?
When he started,
Yeah.
When he started in this game, he was preaching.
Correct. So very often you'd hear them say, Actually, you can start there. You can leave it to him and he pass it to the next winner. So what basically he did? I don't think he's the winner, but that's how he sees what he's going to get. But wishing, yeah. Remember when Jesus met the woman at the well? Why did he go to the well? Because he was tired. Okay? Yeah. When he withdrew, I mean, there are many instances. Anybody else wants to win some carrot? No? Okay. So there are many instances. Do I have to convince you that Jesus got tired? No? You believe it? Okay, excellent. Very good. He got hungry. When did he get hungry? Absolutely. Ronnie, hey. No, that's okay. We got another box for this second. You didn't want them to be too much disturbance. Yeah. Okay, there's another time when he got hungry. Come on, there's 2 pieces of carrot for this. There's one more time when he got hungry. Can anybody remember? There was a tree he was next to, and that tree didn't give him very good fruit, and the fig tree, absolutely. So who was the fig? There's no figs here, but there's a box that side. Okay, so you were thirsty. Okay, how many times was he thirsty, do you think? Actually, okay, passion day. Okay. See, these are what is reported, but hang it, he drank water every day. He didn't wait to be on the cross to be thirsty. No. What is he was thirsty or not? He was just like you and I, for goodness sakes. Yeah? So don't think that just because Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John told us that he drank twice, that he didn't drink the other days of his life. No. He was definitely thirsty, and we know of twice that he was thirsty. One when he was with the woman at the well, and then of course the famous eye thirst. Right? That this is what has really, we identify with this most of all. Okay. Here's a big one: pain. Jesus felt pain. Now, for a moment, take away the cross. I know that's difficult to do. What other kind of pain is there? Emotional pain, absolutely, absolutely. Mental pain, anguish. He had that. He had that. Okay? When the devil came and told him, I'll take you here and I'll take you there and I'll give you this and I'll give you that, he was pained. Okay? There was another time that he was pained, and that is when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And he struggled with the fact that he was going to die. He was in pain. I mean, they say that his pain was so great that he sweat blood. Right. Now here's the big one for Neil. Hey, guess what? Jesus slept as well. Okay, so when did Jesus sleep? Anybody? On the boat. Can you imagine there's a storm going on? I mean, Neil's saying he can sleep through anything. I think Jesus would have beat him to it. What do you think? Yeah? Yeah. There's a storm going on. These guys are all fostering about. They're scared for their lives, and this champion of ours is fast asleep. Okay? There's a lesson to that. When else was Jesus asleep? Do you have any idea? Any idea? No? You know, I think we're all winners, so you can pass it around. Tempted. But let me tell you, Jesus himself recommended to us that we should every now and then go to a secluded place and rest. These are the words of the Lord. This is not me. Okay? So when your mom or your dad or your uncle or your auntie or grandmother says, rest, Baba. Come baby, sleep a little while. Okay? Yeah. I mean, when you get to my age, if you get to sleep in the afternoon, it's like a mini vacation. Okay, so we know that he died. You know about that one, right? So yeah, we know that he died. Okay. Now, what I don't know about you guys, but when I saw the Passion of the Christ the first time, what struck me the most was the fact that I felt that we had killed God. You know, I've watched many Passions before, and I've been, completely overwhelmed with Jesus Christ Superstar and all these things, Godspell and many things. But it was only the Passion of the Christ when I actually saw it that I felt that we had actually killed God. And here am I telling you that this guy died like any human being will and has. Okay, Jesus died. Okay, so we've examined his body. I'm going to very quickly go through Jesus' mind and will. Okay, now to clarify one moment, we said again that he had two natures. Okay, in his two natures, he did have an infinite divine mind. Okay, there's no doubt about that. But hey, guess what? He did have a finite human mind. So what we mean by that is that in his humanity, he was like all of us. Okay, and I'll give you some examples of how he was all like. Okay, we learned from Luke 2:52 that he grew in wisdom and favor. So we know for a fact that Jesus, right, grew in God's favor. Okay, we have this example of him teaching in the temple. Okay, but there are three other times when Jesus said things that are quite amazing. Okay, do you remember the time when the lady touched the fringe of his coat? What did he say? Who touched me? Do you think he didn't know? Now, the answer to that is, no, he didn't know. His human mind didn't know. His divine mind knew because the power was taken. That's in the passage there. But his human mind didn't know. So Jesus was not pretending that, hey, I don't know who this person is who touched me. Right? And the other thing that he didn't know about, and he said that he didn't know about, this is a big one. He does not know about that day or the hour when he will come again. He said that. I do not know. Only the Father knows. So in his finite mind, in his human mind, God was like Jesus was like all of us. Okay? No difference whatsoever. Okay? And here's the spectacular part. Now, if he had only God's will in him, would he have said, mine own will? He said, no, I came down from heaven not to do my own will, because he had his own will. He could have done his own will. Yeah? But he chose to do God's will. You know, I often say to myself, God, I wish I didn't have this gift of choice. I wish I would be able to live my life according to your will. Thy will be done, Lord, in my life. And then I realized that the Lord gave me the gift of choice and my own will because he wants us to choose him. That's all. That's all. He wants us to choose him, and once we choose him and choose his will, that becomes the parameter of our life. That's the only thing that we need to do with the will that we're given. We need to choose him, right? And twice, not once, did he say, not as I will, but as you will. So he proves to us here that he did have a will and he did give it up to the Father. Okay? Now, I thought this was mind-blowing. I mean, for me, sorry, when I first read about this, I thought, oh gosh, I always thought that, he was submitting to the will of somebody else, but I didn't consider the fact that he put his own will down. I mean, Jesus lived what we preach, you must increase and I will decrease, himself. I mean, how amazing is that? For me, these are crunching things. Let's look at Jesus' emotions. Okay? Now, I'm not going to again talk about the emotions that we know about, happiness and joy and stuff like that. We're going to focus on the things that are a little bit more that we are kind of shy to talk about, that we kind of stay away from. Okay? Sad. Does anybody know when Jesus was sad? Absolutely. I mean, he said, my heart is saddened unto death. Somebody is sitting anyway. Okay? Now Jesus was sad, and what we are asked to do, girls and guys, is that we need to go and cling to the sadness of Jesus in our own sadness. Okay? When we are sad, remember that Jesus spent time being sad too. Okay? He cried. How many times did he cry? I mean, men don't cry, right? It's rubbish. Indians anyway cry over there. Okay. How many times can you remember in the Gospels that he cried? Death of Lazarus. Absolutely. When else? Garden of Gethsemane. Okay. When else? Correct. That's a wonderful one. Jerusalem. Okay. He gets the whole box. It's still there. Right. So Jesus cried when he approached the city of Jerusalem. He wept at his friend Lazarus' death, and he also cried when he prayed. And who did he pray for? Us. He was praying for us, and he offered up his prayers and supplications, and he cried with loud cries and tears. Okay? So, he cried. Now, here's something that we're not familiar with. He got angry. Wow, Jesus got angry. Amazing. But there are 2 or 3 distinct times when he got angry. One is this, right? When Peter attempted to deflect him from his mission. He said, Peter, get me angry. When else did he get angry? Temper. Absolutely. He drove out the vendors and the money changers. Now, we may be a little uncomfortable with the fact that Jesus got angry, but let me tell you that anger is an emotion, and the CCC, which is the Catechism of the Catholic Church, tells us that an emotion is neither right nor wrong. It is acting on the emotion that could be a problem. So, Jesus never hurt physically or treated anybody violently. You have to remember that. So please don't go away from here saying, oh, Jesus was angry, so I can be angry. You know, many years ago we did a session here, I remember Rebecca, the 7 deadly sins, and we spoke about anger, and one of the lines that stuck in my head is that only the righteous have the right to be angry. You know, he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. That's what it means. Right? So only the righteous have the right to be angry. We are not allowed. CCC said it very clearly. In themselves, passion are neither good nor evil. Okay? So please remember that. Throwing people out of the temple. This is a big one. Lonely. Now, when did Jesus say this? You remember? Right? To his disciples, right? Now, why did he want Peter and the disciples to watch with him? Why? Could they give him anything? I mean, these guys have been getting in trouble. Why did he want them? I mean, have you ever thought about this? I mean, Jesus is going to them. 3 times he went to them and he said, can you not watch with me? Can you not stay up with me? And they kept falling asleep. Sorry, me. Why? Why? Because he craved for human companionship. He was lonely. I mean, again, this is another one that really blew me out of the water. Right? He was lonely. I mean, what else? What other reason could he have asked for them to stay awake with me? Could you wait with me 1 more hour? Right? He had no reason for them. These guys, I mean, they kept falling asleep. And what Jesus needed was human support, okay? And guess what? It was denied him. So, you know why it was denied him? So that through his loneliness, he can redeem our loneliness. So, if ever again you have the feeling and the sense of loneliness, cling to Jesus. Cling to him. He will be there for you. He will watch. He is watching you all the time. Forget about the 1 hour. Okay? So, I mean, can you imagine how Jesus must have felt when the crowd chose Barabbas over him? This guy was a multiple mass murderer. He had committed almost every crime that you can think of. And the people say, free Barabbas. I mean, this is insane. He felt totally rejected. And who are the people that rejected him? The ones whom he cured, the ones whom he loved, the ones whom he taught. The same people now rejected him and they chose Barabbas. There was another time when he felt completely rejected, and that is the miracle that he worked with the evil spirits. You remember when he sent the evil spirits into the pigs, and the pigs jumped over the cliff? Right. What happened immediately after that was that the people chased him out of town, because I mean they were so worried that he would cause some sort of unrest that they rejected him. You know, and here was he did something for the good of the place, right? The rejection of Jesus, abandoned. I told you about how he sweat blood, right? He felt abandoned. There were moments when Jesus felt completely abandoned. I mean, the biggest statement on abandonment was the one that he made from the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? He did feel, he had moments when he felt abandoned. We do that as well. You know, and I am urging you all, cling to this guy, cling to this man. He has been through everything that we go through. No, nothing different. Fear. You know, nobody. When I first heard that Jesus felt fear, I was thinking to myself, how can it be possible? But he did feel fear, right? And it's documented. Jesus feared and he prayed and he overcome his fear. Okay? He feared so much that his prayer became so urgent that he sweat, and I told you, like, his sweat was like drops of blood. Okay? Fear is a natural reaction, so don't be worried. It's a natural reaction to something when it happens, that is frightening. Let's go on a quick tour of Jesus' life. Okay? He had a very simple existence, right? He was born in a stable. Remember, I told you to remember that. Why was he born in a manger? Because he was poor? That too, yeah. But because there was no room for him at the inn, is what the Bible tells us. Okay? But he had a simple existence. And remember Father Gino telling us, Jesus identified, he spent the maximum amount of time with the poor. Okay? And I have wondered about what happened to the gifts that the three kings gave him. Have you ever wondered about the golden citizen? No, I mean he should have been the richest guy in town, right? I've always wondered about that. Frankly, I don't have the answer, but if you do find out, let me know. It's not there. He kept his parents, with his parents, all the customs and traditions. Okay? He didn't act differently from us. I mean, Jesus even went to be baptized. You and I know that. Right? He played truant. Right? He got lost. He wandered off. How many of you believe this? He studied. I mean, let me tell you something. That Jesus knew the Torah, which is the Greek law, book of laws, the Old Testament. Right? He knew the Psalms by heart. Everywhere he went, he was quoting the Psalms, even from the cross. If you look at all the things that he said on the cross, they are all from the Psalms. Right? He read Hebrew. He spoke Arabic. Do you think he could have done all this without studying, without learning? Right? So when you are disheartened and discouraged from studying and learning, guess what? He did what he had to do. He did his bit of studying and learning. He memorized the Psalms, okay? And he astonished everybody. I mean, they looked at him and said, man, this is the carpenter's son. How can he be the one who's talking so learnedly? Okay? They were amazed at him, his understanding and stuff. So he studied. He worked. And here's the thing I like about this. Jesus had two jobs. He had a blue-collar job, which is the carpentry job. And then he had a white-collar job, which is the teacher's job. Right? And I think some of you are going to like this next slide. He did night shift as well. So, Jesus worked. Master Chef! Yeah, man, you're not alone. I was trying to say, hey, yeah, only there's no gas around the place. Right? And you're thinking, what a selfish guy. He's got a big fish there and a big green loaf, and he's having it all by himself. No, what he did was making breakfast for the disciples. As soon as they came off the boat, he made breakfast there. He cooked. Okay? Jesus cooked. Right? He partied. Okay, now, any more? Avidan has got the vegetable with him. How many parties did Jesus attend that we know of in the Bible? You know? Wedding in Cana is different. That's there. When else? Last Supper. Okay, we can call that a fellowship. Okay, even farewell party. Okay, when else? Guess what, man? He had the world's biggest picnic. And it was so well reported that Matthew and Mark reported it twice, and Luke and John once each. Okay? He fed 5,000 people. What do you think that was? Okay? Delivered the Sermon on the Mount, and then he had a picnic with 5,000 people. So he, just like us, had a good time too. Okay? Most of all, he prayed. You know, the number, when I was going through this various Gospels, you will see that Jesus went away and prayed. Jesus went away and prayed. He went to a lonely place and prayed. He really prayed. And who was he praying for? Like I said, he prayed for us. Okay? Now, not only did he pray for us, he taught us how to pray. What did he teach us? What did he teach us? The what? Our Father? Why didn't he say my Father or your Father? He said our Father. Why? Because he was one of us. Our Father. That's a huge clue. You know, it was not my Father who art in heaven or your Father who art in heaven. He said our Father who art. Okay? And there's another passage that I found fantastic when he tells Simon Peter, you know, I have prayed for you. I know numerous number of you come and even share with me and tell me, you know, I'm praying for you, I prayed for you. That's a wonderful thing. And I want to encourage you to keep doing that. Pray for each other, right? And he tells Simon, I prayed for you that your faith may not fail. Okay? Jesus traveled. Okay, he didn't need a passport and visas, but he really traveled. Okay, and I was going through this travel thing of his, and my goodness, did he really travel? If he traveled today, he would need 3 visas. Okay, from Nazareth to Egypt and back. Do you think that's a short journey? You know, why do they call it the flight into Egypt? There was no aeroplane. There was no flight whatsoever. But guess what? That was the journey that in one direction was over 350 miles. Okay, was a long journey. Okay, the journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem, he did in the womb of his mother, and then the journey from Bethlehem to Egypt, he was carried. The journey back from Egypt to Nazareth was when he was perhaps 4 or 5 years old, so he walked. Nobody's going to carry a 5-year-old 350 miles. Okay, so he walked. And there is a guy who has made it his mission to calculate the amount of miles that Jesus has walked. And he didn't just walk himself, he walked with his disciples and did complete crisscrossing of the Holy Land. And he walked a total of 21,525 or 34,000 kilometers in his 33 years. The circumference of the earth at the equator is around 40,000 kilometers. So Jesus walked just short of one circle around the widest part of the earth. Okay, that's how much he walked. Okay, if the cars park too far, I have a problem. Okay, I guess when there's no choice, it makes things easier, right? But he really walked. Okay, I need to speed up a bit, right? So Jesus traveled, he paid taxes. Okay, he gave to Caesar what was Caesar's, you know about this. He told Peter, you pay the temple tax. And there are many other instances where Jesus was just like us in his human flesh, okay? I'm now going to share with you a small clip of what the Holy Father has to say about the humanity of Jesus. Okay?
About the humanity of Jesus. He encouraged people to see Jesus as a man who still prays for us. The book explained that through his wounds, Jesus reminds the Father that he paid the ultimate price to save humanity.
Egli intercessore, quello che prega, e prega a Dio con noi, davanti a noi. Gesù ci ha salvato, ha fatto questa grande preghiera, questo sacrificio, la sua vita per salvarci. Gesù è una persona, è un uomo con carne come la nostra, ma in gloria. Gesù ha le chiavi sulle mani, sui piedi, sul braccio. E quando prega fa vedere al Padre questo prezzo della giustificazione. Prega per noi, come se dicesse il Padre che non si perda questo.
Pope Francis is known for asking others to pray for him. During his homily, he encouraged others to do the same.
Okay? Pope Francis asked others to pray for him. That's a big one, okay? We need to remember that. So, we come back to who do you say that I am? Vatican II says, Jesus labored with human hands, thought with a human mind, acted with a human will, and loved with a human heart. Born of Mary, the Virgin, he truly became one like us, and sin apart, was like us in every way. So where can we meet Jesus face to face? Okay? In this daily humdrum of life, where are we going to be able to actually see Jesus? The Jesus who was sad, who was lonely, who studied, who had 2 jobs. Okay? How can we be like him? How can we dare to be a disciple? By remembering your homework, Isaiah 58. Okay? Right. Let's trace his steps as Peter asks us to do. He is our example. Okay? And we should follow in his steps. So, spot Jesus. Okay? It might not be easy for some of us to spot Jesus in there, but he is there in every single one of us. Okay? Right? And when you leave today, okay, think about the times when you have been Jesus and had any one or a combination of the various attributes of Jesus that we spoke about today. Or if anybody else has been Jesus to you, okay, listen to you, being there for you when you were lonely. Okay. I always remind everybody that for me, ABC is simply always be Christ. Okay? Don't worry about not being able to find Jesus, because it doesn't matter if you find him or not, he finds you. Okay? He is always, even if we don't see him, he sees us. So you don't need to worry about that. I remember many years ago when I was working on an initial presentation in the group, I came across something that said that if you have Christ in the crosshairs, you know what crosshairs are? In a rifle you have the telescopic sight. And what is the shape of a crosshair? A cross. And if you've got Christ in your crosshairs, nothing can go wrong. Okay? Thank you very much. I wanted us to end by singing a hymn, but I think I don't know how we are for time. If there is, we can. If there isn't, we are.